Hi everyone, and welcome to the obligatory Dave Facing Camera introduction to our latest How to Play vid. On today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to play Condottiere, an amazing card game for 2 to 5 players where you're competing to gain control of the various cities and regions of Italy as depicted on this board. There are many versions of the game available, but for this video we're going to be using the Z-Man version as A, that's the only version available, and B, it seems the most versatile. The most important difference is that this one comes with 3 different sets of rules. First is the modern version, which is what's been played for the past decade or so. You also get the original rule set and cards, and you also get a 2-player variant. We'll run over the differences between these variants at the end of the video, but for now, I'll turn the camera down and we'll get started. The first step when setting up Condottiere is to set the board in the center of the table and remark to your friends how annoying it is that it never sits quite flat. Next, you must prepare the deck of cards. There are a few different ways to prepare the deck depending on which rule set you're using. If you want to play with a classic rule set, remove all 22 cards with the small flower icon in the bottom right corner. Whereas if you want to play with the modern rule set, just remove the 8 cards with this small fruit icon in the corner. We'll cover how to prepare a deck for a 2-player game at the end of this video when we run through the rule differences. For this demo, we're going to play with the modern rule set, so we're going to remove these 8 cards from the game. Shuffle all the remaining cards and deal 10 face down to each player. Each player then chooses a colour and takes 5 control cubes of that colour. The rules state that the youngest player goes first. However, we like to see who can say Condottiere in the most flamboyant or incorrect manner with bonus points awarded for hand gestures. However you determine the first player, they take possession of this battle marker. Now you're ready to play. In each round, players are going to fight over a region of Italy by playing cards from their hand. At the conclusion of each round, whoever has the strongest army will win control over a region and place one of their control tokens on the board. The strength of your army for a round is dictated by the cards that you play during that round. The game ends when one player controls either 3 adjacent regions or controls 5 regions over the entire board. The game can also end if the board's ever filled up, there are no more regions to contest, and none of the other win conditions have been met. To begin a round, the player with the battle marker chooses any empty region on the board and places a battle marker there. An empty region of the board is considered any place that does not have an existing token. In Condottiere, players take turns, starting with the player who initiated the battle, and proceeding clockwise. On each turn you have just 2 options. You can either play a card or you can pass. If you choose to play a card, you place it face up on the table like so, in front of you, and announce your strength to the other players, in this case 3. For example, for the first round, player 1 plays a 3, player 2 plays a 4, and player 3 plays a 5. If the round were to end right now, player 5 would be the winner with the most points. Then, when player 2 played their second card, they would announce that their army's strength was now 9, as it is 6 plus 3. During the round, all of your cards remain face up and arranged in such a way that they are visible to players for the rest of the round. There are 2 types of cards: mercenaries, which just add to your army's strength, and special cards, which can bolster your troops, hinder your enemy, or trigger other effects. Mercenary cards are easily identified by this shield icon in the top left corner and the white number. Special cards have this round icon in the top left and a summary of the special actions of that card down the bottom. We'll run through what each of these means later on in this video. If you don't want to play a card, or you can't play a card, you're able to pass instead. When you pass, you're not allowed to contribute any further to the current round. The cards you've played so far remain on the table and represent your forces for this round, but you can't do anything to modify them from that point forward. The round ends when all players have passed. That means if all players except one have passed, that player may take as many turns as they wish until deciding to pass. So, if we were to play out our sample round, player 1 had played the second card of 6, player 2 decides to bow out and passes, player 3 chooses to play a card and announces that their total strength is now 11, player 1 chooses to play another card and announces that their strength is now 10. Player 2 has passed, so they're not allowed to contribute any further, and then player 3 decides to pass as well. Now, player 1 may take as many turns as they wish before passing to end the round. They choose to play one more card, and then, because they're still 11, choose to play one more. Their total is now 21. As mentioned before, the goal of each battle is to have the highest strength in your army, as indicated by the sum of values here. In this example, player 1 would have the most points and would win control of the region. They would place the control cube on the board for that region and take the battle marker ready to start the next round. If there's ever a tied result for a region, say in this example we had 11 versus 11, nobody wins the battle and a control cube would not have been placed. You'd then randomly decide who amongst the tied players would take the battle marker for the next round. Condottiere wouldn't have garnered such prestige if it were all just as simple as this, however. It's the special card skills and end of round actions that really raise the bar. First, we'll run through the special cards, as they're played alongside your mercenaries and can drastically impact the tide of battle. The first of these is the spy. Each spy in your battle row adds a value of 1 to your strength. Plus, as an added bonus, whoever has the most spies at the end of a round gets to take the battle marker instead of the person who normally would have won the round. Next is the Scarecrow card. When you play a Scarecrow card, you may take one of your mercenary cards back into your hand. Wait a second, that wasn't a troop, it was just a Scarecrow. It's important to note that special cards only affect mercenaries and not other special cards like this spy here. This rule remains true for all special cards. Next up, we have the Turncoat. When this card is played, the battle ends immediately and the winner is determined as per usual. It's a great card to play if you feel the battle, as it currently stands, would suit you best. If player 3 had played this card now, player 1 would obviously win because they have the highest score by quite a lot. The next card is the Drummer. When a drummer is in your row, the value of all your mercenary cards at the end of battle is doubled. Again, that is just your mercenary cards, so this battle row would currently equal 11 because you would have 5 times 2 plus 1. The spy is not impacted by the drummer. You can play multiple drummers on your turn, however their effects won't stack. 3 drummers in your row would have the same impact as 1. The Heroine is a rare card but very powerful. Each heroine in your battle line adds 10 points to your battle strength for the round. Next up, we have the Bishops. Now if you're playing in the modern version, as we are, you'll be playing with this Bishop. When this Bishop is played, you immediately identify the highest value mercenary on the table and discard all copies of it, even if there are copies in your battle line. In this case, it's just that one. If you had a 10 in your line, not the Heroine note because it's not a mercenary card, you would discard that card as well. Another thing to note is that the highest value card is determined by the number printed on the card, not the value after effects. So for example here, the 5 times 2, that value is not 10. At the end of battle the value is 10, but at the point the Bishop is played, that card is treated as a 5. This isn't overly clear in the rulebook, but it has been clarified by the publishers and designers. After eliminating the card, you can place this favour token on any empty region of the board. While that region contains the marker, no battles may be initiated there. This marker remains in place between battles, and the only way to relocate it is with another Bishop card. If you were playing the classic rules, you would have this Bishop. When this bishop is played, the round immediately ends with no winner. The end of round steps, which I'll explain in a few minutes, are still completed, but no control cubes are placed. The next two cards are these season cards, and when they're played to this region of the board instead of a player's battle line. This is because they have an impact on all players in the game, rather than just one. The first of these is Winter. The Winter card's effect is that it reduces every mercenary on the table to a strength of 1. As with other special cards, this does not affect other specials such as a heroine. It would affect all of these mercenaries, however. The other season card is Spring. When Spring is on the board, 3 strength is added to the value of all the highest value mercenary cards on the table. As with the bishop, this applies to the printed card value and not the card value after modification. So at current standing, that card would only affect this player here, so that card would be worth 9 instead of 6 at the end of the round. If both these players had a 6 in their battle row, both of those cards would be worth 9 at the end of the round. However, if someone played something higher, say this player played a 10, then that 10 would be worth 13 at the end of the round, and the 6 would be worth just 6. If you play a season card when another season is in play, you simply discard the existing season and replace it with the new card. Once a round is complete, there are a few steps to take before you begin a new battle. First of all, determine the victor, and if there is only one, place a cube on the board. Next, you give the battle marker to the winner of that round, or if there are spies on the table, the player with the most spies. Next, discard all cards from this round. Next, the following steps should be performed. I'll just turn over the player hands now so that you can see what cards they have, as that's important in what we're about to do. First, players with no mercenary cards in their hand can choose whether to keep or discard their current hand. Players do not have to state what is in their hand, only what their intended action is. So, for example, if I had these cards in my hand, I would not be able to discard because I have a mercenary. So I would announce, I'm not discarding my hand. If I had no mercenaries, such as this player down here, then I could also announce that I wasn't discarding my hand. I wouldn't have to say that I have no mercenaries, but had decided to keep my hand. Alternatively, I could announce that I had no mercenary cards and choose to discard my hand entirely. The hand would be discarded face up there, so of course all players could see that I didn't, in fact, have any mercenaries. This decision is made in clockwise order, starting with the player who has the battle marker. Next, if only one player has cards left in their hand, they must discard their hand. No ifs, no buts, no coconuts. When all players have no cards in their hand at the end of the round, the deck is reset and a new hand is dealt. To reset the deck, all you do is take the discarded cards and shuffle them back into the main deck. And knock them all over the table because I'm uncoordinated. When dealing the new hand, each player again gets 10 cards, plus an additional 1 card for each control cube on the board. So if the board looked like this, then player 1 would get 1 additional card, player 2 would get 1 additional card, and player 3 would get 2 additional cards. This end of round mechanic is core to Condottiere's strategic brilliance. Players must carefully manage their hand and consider how much they're going to commit to each battle. Play too many cards in an early battle and you'll be left without until the deck is reset. However, if you hold on to your good cards too long and play a conservative game, you risk being the only player with cards in your hand and may lose them all. Don't just think about your own hand though. At the end of the round, if you have an opportunity to discard, have a look around the table and see how it might disadvantage or benefit other players. You not only want to score territory for yourself, you also want to ensure nobody else makes a win condition first. As mentioned earlier, the game ends immediately if someone controls 3 regions like so, or if they have 5 cubes on the board, like this. Anywhere. The game will also end if there are no empty regions available to place the battle token at the start of a round. In this case, all regions are in control, except for here, which currently has a favour token there. If that happens, then the player who controls the most regions is the winner. If there's still a tie, then those players share the victory. In this make-believe scenario, these 3 players would share victory as they each control an equal number of regions, and these players would lose. As mentioned at the outset, this Z-Man edition of Condottiere comes with 3 rule sets for you to use. The classic and modern rule sets are very similar. Aside from some card changes, the core rules we've just described remain the same. The classic version doesn't have these new bishops, spring cards, or spies, and has 1 less scarecrow card. It does, however, have these 3 classic bishop cards and an additional 5 1-strength mercenaries. The 2-player variant doesn't have significantly different gameplay, however there are a few changes to the rules which change the strategies you must use when playing. The first difference is to do with the initial setup. In the 2-player version, both players will have an identical deck to play with. As such, when preparing the deck, you must remove all cards that don't have these 2-player icons in the top right corner, and then separate them into 1- and 2-player piles. Each player then takes their own 23-card deck, shuffles it, and deals a hand of 8 cards. As with the original game, players must select a colour. However, the starting player is determined at random, and that player gets the battle marker. The game plays as described earlier, however there are a few additional variations to note. The first is that, after a battle is won, players return the cards that they have played to the box and immediately draw back up to 8 cards. These decks are never reset, so if you've used all 23 of your cards, you must pass for the rest of the game. The second is that the first win condition is changed to just having 3 control cubes anywhere on the board. A second win condition is also added where, if both players have exhausted their decks, the game immediately ends and the player with the most control cubes on the board is the winner. Similar to the other variants, if you're still tied, then draw is declared. The last change is that you don't place the favour marker when a bishop is played. Normally you could use that to protect a region, however, for a 2-player game, you just ignore it. And that's all there is to it. Condottiere might seem a little daunting at first, but fear not, it only takes a couple of rounds to get the hang of things and for potential strategies to emerge. If you're having trouble remembering the skills, the back cover of the rulebook has a really handy quick reference for all the specials. Hope this video has been helpful. If you have any queries or would like to request we play a particular game, please don't hesitate to get in contact and let us know. Until next time, bye!